And hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode, If Not Now Wen. Oh my goodness. Today, I have such a privilege, such an honor to talk to Bryan Menell. And if you did not know Bryan, oh my goodness, you really should. Bryan, in my humble opinion, he is one of the landmarks of Austin, Texas. Bryan, he is a technologist, investor, author, serious entrepreneur, and unicorn founders. Oh my God, don't we all want to find those people? Wow. So he have found and co-found many businesses in a very diverse industry, such as customer relationship management system, point of sales technology, e-learnings, system integration, and deskless workforce. Wow, sounds super smart. And for the past 25 years, Bryan has been doing his part to truly make Austin, Texas a vibrant and a growing technology community. With that, everybody, I am so pumped. I'm so overexcited. Thank you very much, Bryan, for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me on. You make me sound amazing. That's great.
You are. So Bryan, tell us, you have done so many magical things. So tell us, how does all the journey get started?
It kind of started when I was a kid. My parents got an Apple II Plus computer, one of the first mass market personal computers out there. And, I just want to learn everything about that thing. I learned how to program it and how to, crack games. Did I say that? I didn't crack games. Do my homework on it and, anything I could. When I was a kid, I ran a dial-up bulletin board system for other people to communicate and collaborate on things. So that really started it. I just loved technology from the start. And not so much technology for technology's sake, but like what it could do for people, right? It could help me do my homework better. I could use a word processor to change things rather than handwriting out something and scratch it out, or, use whiteout. Remember whiteout? Does anyone remember whiteout? Like, it's been so long since I wrote things by hand. But that's when it started, just my love of technology. And it just grew from there as I used it in all aspects of life and business and my interests and undergraduate degree and everything.
So you love technology, but do you always knew you want to be an entrepreneur? How does that connecting from your passion to tech to, well, one day you thought, you know what, you can leverage in that passion, creating something new for the world?
I don't know. I guess it started just because since I knew about technology, not many people did, just starting out doing some consulting for, when I was a teenager, a manufacturing business that I was introduced to by a good friend of mine, and his mom was doing technology consulting work with them. And she's like, you could help me, come in and help out. And so I started doing some consulting work on my own. And then after a while, when you do consulting work, you get too much work. You need to hire somebody. Now you're a business, right? Now you have to manage people and I have to do things. So it just kind of started. And then as I did it, I just loved, doing that. And, maybe, I don't know. I think I make a bad employee. I don't think anybody want to hire me. So I think I just have to start my own things.
It's so funny you say that. I feel like, with many entrepreneurs speaking with, it's kind of one of its common thread with all the incredible entrepreneurs. And they all felt like, they are maybe not the best fit for employee, and they always knew that they have a bigger vision to create something greater. So amazing. So tell us, what is a moment you start seeing that possibility and then actually starting that? And how does that journey look like? I know for today, you are a serious entrepreneur. You have so many businesses. So tell us, was it easy to start at the first beginning?
I don't know if it was like easy or not, but just I made it a little bit risk-free. So when I first came out of school, I went to work for a Big 5 consulting firm. I think it was Big 8 back then, which was interested in consulting, which is now Accenture. And I worked for them for like 2 years. I traveled like every week for a long time. And I was traveling so much that I just gave up my apartment. So I was living no place. I put stuff in like boxes in storage, and they were paying all my expenses while I was traveling. So all my food and room and like everything. So all my paychecks were just going in the bank like week after week after week. So when I decided to strike it on my own and start something, which was a technology consulting company, I had savings built up to help me out and to make it less risky to start out with something. Not a lot of savings, but I had enough, right? So that if things didn't work out, it didn't, I had a little bit of a buffer.
Mhm.
And then also, I had just built up some business relationships. So
Mhm.
when I just started to go on my own, I had some people that I knew that I could rely
Mhm.
upon to say, like, hey, can I help you out? Like, what do you need? Here's the things I can do if you want
Mhm.
some help. And that's where it started. And then, kind of like my previous story, it's like there's more work than I can do. So I hire somebody else. Then, like, I
Mhm.
had another person to work for them. The teams get
Mhm.
bigger. And after a
Mhm.
while, you just, at least in doing technology consulting work, the company gets big enough that you don't have time to work on any one project. You have to, like, run the company, right? You have to hire
Mhm.
people. You have to give them a career path. You have to, manage multiple clients and help sell work and, review statements of work and contracts for clients and those sorts of things. So it just sort of grew and bubbled up from there.
So tell us, ever since that moment, you start many business since then. So um, what is hardest thing that you have done, starting businesses?
Hardest thing to start. I mean, I've launched into some to investigate and learn about and try and do some things with that after a while you realize, like, this is not a good idea. Like, there's no market for this, or people are not willing to pay money for this. Like, I thought it was valuable, but
Mm.
people just aren't willing to, actually pay for it. So this really isn't a business, right? So I think the hardest thing is when you go from that ideation stage, like, got this
Mhm.
great idea, and then you go do some research and figure out, is it applicable? Do people care? Is this a problem people really have that they want to solve? And you realize, like, it really isn't. You go, oh man, well, that's all right. I'll get a new idea, later and try something else out. So that's, I think, part of the creativity, though, is the experimentation. But that's kind of like the bummer part. You kind of go through a little bit of a lull and you just be like,
Mhm.
I thought that would be, like, really interesting. Turns out it wasn't. Like, oh well, just gotta pick up and try the next one.
Brian, you make it sound so easy. And you and me know this, that the product market fit, once you realize it's probably not the right fit, pivot is oftentimes so hard. I feel like for founders, that's probably their baby for past 2, 3 years or months or whatever that time is. And it's so hard to shift. How do you easy to actually see it as it is and then move forward? I feel like that may be one of the reasons that you are so successful today as a serial entrepreneur, as one of the unicorn founders.
Yeah, it's never easy, right? So as you mentioned, when you build something, it's like your baby. Like, I
Mm.
envisioned that feature, and then maybe I wrote the code to make that feature work, and I put it all together, and then I go bring it to people, and they go, I don't need that. Like, that's not valuable. And you kind of go, oh
Mm.
man, like, you get it, like, attached to it. So that's, I think, the challenge is, like, you need to build things and then just not really get attached to them, as in terms of your ego, right? Like,
Mhm.
my ego is built up into this feature or this product. Like, you just can't do that because
Mhm.
people are, have different needs. They have different perspectives. They look at the world through a different lens than I do, and just, wasn't a fit, right? So I think that's part of it, is you have to sort of detach your own identity and ego from the thing you created, and be willing to have it, put up for,
Mhm.
very deep inspection, and, like, does it fit or not? And then be willing to change. Like, I thought this was the case. And so I kind of created this thing. But as I learned more and talked to people and they used it and they tried it, like, I learned, actually, like, this is the case. I didn't even realize those perspectives before, right? I had no idea people thought about things this way. So, oh, all right, I'll have to incorporate that into my thinking, and then go, like, maybe I
Mhm.
can, don't have to throw it away. Maybe I can just modify it a bit and, make it appear a little bit different, so it does meet
Mhm.
someone's needs. So you don't have to always throw the whole thing out, but
Mhm.
sometimes you do too. So it's
Mhm.
I think you just have to, like, detach your own self-worth from the thing and be able to let it go out there and just see what happens.
That is so hard, Ryan. Oh my goodness. I love how you articulate that, which is so beautiful. And I'm curious, you start so many business. I'm curious, was your part not only is challenging, but do you have a quote unquote a failure, an experience that's truly so difficult? And then, maybe at that moment was so hard and so challenges, but now looking back as a hindsight, that of course is such a blessing and help you become who you are today. Do you have those moments that you can share with us?
Oh, I mean, there's so many, though. It's hard to pick one. I had one that I was, a long time ago. I was working with for some people that I was, we were working on something together in one company, and we had this idea to go do, like, a new thing. And this is in, like, 2000, right? And the concept was that mobile was going to be big, right? So 2000, people have flip phones. To send text messages, you got to press that number one like 3 times to get to a C, right? To create text, right? So it's very slow. But I thought that businesses would want to have people who are out in the field be able to access information from the corporate headquarters, right, through their phone in a mobile way, and rather than have a laptop and those sorts of things. And so I just thought mobile was going to just explode. But this is like, when did the iPhone come out? 2006 or something like that. Like, so this is like 6 years before even a really capable device came out. And so we even, we had some investors who put some money behind it, and I had other people on the team, and we just worked on this thing. And we spent probably like just 6 months looking at the state of the tools, which were terrible, building prototypes on these terrible tools, showing people what this could look like in their industry, which just because the tools are terrible and technology is terrible, the experience was like terrible. And so after a while, like, we just investigated this, and we just kind of looked at each other and we said, like, this is not going to work, right? So we just gave the money back to investors and said, look,
you did
keep
that?
your money. Yeah, we just said, keep your money. Like, this is, we've investigated this, we've looked at it. Here's what we tried. We tried this, we tried that, we looked at this. Like, we can't figure out the angle here that's going to be successful. We'd rather just like keep your money than for us to keep banging our heads against the wall for a while to make this work. So it turns out we were right. Mobile was very important and exploded. We were just super, super early, which is, I think, a key lesson for any entrepreneur, is that timing is everything, right? Timing is one of the most important things out there. So we just didn't have a good timing, unfortunately. So I guess that was the lesson learned, was that timing is everything.
Wow. First of all, Bryan did not know you gave the money back, which is, shows so much of your integrity and who you are as a, person, entrepreneur. And, tell us, I feel like when you describe that, like, of course, it's, sounds like, it sounds logical thing to say today, but at that moment, were you as calm, as objective as you are today? Like, how are you able to really just let go? Like, that is something that you have invested so much time, and investors saying yes, so many people on board, right? You are not only just you, but you have a team, investor, all the incredible people surrounded by and celebrate you. And how do you easily just walk away and realize that's just not the right thing to do?
Well, I think the calmness comes after the decision, right? So when, as a team, you get together, you look at the alternatives, you weigh the alternatives, right? What are we going to decide to do, right? Here's 3 or 4 different ways this could go. What is it? When you finally make the decision, and then you realize at the end of the day, like, this was the right decision, like, that's where the calmness comes about. The storm is in the discussion and trying to figure out the alternatives and like, what are we going to do? And, dealing with that is the hard part. And then the calm is when the storm's like over, right? And everything's decisions made, it's rolled out. And it's like, you know what? And you look back, and in some ways you go, you know what? We should have arrived at this decision sooner. Like, we should have figured this out quicker than we did, right? We could have saved some time if we'd maybe been more decisive, perhaps. But the calmness is always afterwards.
That's incredible. I love that. I feel like you are just able to come in a conversation and have a discussion. And then once you decide, you decide. So therefore there's a calmness with that. And Bryan, we all know this, the entire entrepreneur journey is going to be a lot of downs. And, you start many, many business. So I'm curious, is it a moment? Is it a day that you come home, you're like, God damn, I don't know if I have what it takes to, I don't know if I can have, like, I can wake up tomorrow, go to office exactly the same. Like, I don't know if I have that today. Like, I just want to throw my towel and say, you know what? This is not for me. Like, do you ever have that moment of challenges that you have to really, think deep about why you are doing what you do at the moment?
Yeah, I think there's always challenges, right? At the end of the day, you do it because this is what you love doing. So if you ever find that you're in a position where it's just like, I just don't love this anymore, then you need to do something else, right? So I've never, been where it's just like, this is like terrible, I need to not, do this, do something else. But I've definitely had tough days, right? Either that big project that you won with a client, like, you just didn't win it and you thought you were going to, or a team member just is not working out. You've tried everything to make them successful. You just can't, and you just have to
Mhm.
like let them go, even though
Mhm.
you don't want to. Like those are always difficult days, right? So one thing about running your own business or doing your own thing is that you have a little bit of freedom of your schedule. So typically that means you get to work 7 days a week, right? But um, when you do have those like bad days, sometimes you just need to say like, you know what, I just got to take like a mental health day like this day
Mhm.
and just take a day to regroup and do
Mhm.
something that is not related to work, that gives me some space to put this past
Mhm.
me and go hit golf balls or climb Mount Benel or like something that
Mhm.
just like, gives you a chance to just like take a deep breath, like regroup, remember why we're doing this in the first place, and then just like, hop back in it. So that's I guess one of the
Mhm.
benefits of,
Mhm.
running your own businesses is being able to, manage your schedule in some ways and have some flexibility when you just need to like have a little bit of a regroup day.
I love that you talk about, mental health day. I felt like in the entrepreneurship, world, it sounds so sexy and fancy. Oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh my God, I'm starting this tech company or whatever he or she's doing. And of course, with all the high, all the glamours, but we all know there's underneath that, there's so much grind, there's so much challenges. And I love that you brought that about the mental health day. So I think, you know, not entrepreneurs, really needed to not only go near for the grind, but also important to just take that moment, take the afternoon, take the day, whatever that need to truly reconnect with her or himself and really think about why they started in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. For every Elon Musk who lives this incredible lifestyle and is super brilliant, there's 10,000 people, right,
Mm,
who are, going on their route to change out the snacks in their vending machine business or whatever. That's, spend 12 hours a day, on the road, working very hard individually, trying to grow their business, hustling, so it's, you just got to remember it's not always the, we have this bias in looking at the world and we hold up the successful Michael Dells of the world and
mhm,
those sorts of things, and we
mhm,
don't talk about the smaller people who are very entrepreneurial on what they do, but who aren't as visible and put in just as much hard
mhm,
work and challenge and sacrifice in a different way. So it is, mental
mhm,
health is important. It's it can be challenging and grueling. I remember I was a guest speaker at this college event with some entrepreneurial students. And somebody, much like you, had introduced me and my background, the companies I'd started, and the question from the students when the students was, well, after starting so many businesses, it must be really easy to start a new successful business. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
mhm,
Like it's not everyone is difficult, right? And if anything else, maybe it's
mhm,
harder because there's more competition, there's more technology freely available, there's more people with
mhm,
ideas, there's more um, startup programs and labs that can help entrepreneurs. There's just more entrepreneurs and more ideas, right? So it's actually maybe harder than
mhm.
ever before. So just having the experience doesn't automatically mean whatever I do is going to be wildly successful. Like it does not work that way.
So why? Why you keep doing that, Brian? Why that you already know what you know, now you know even it's harder, but why you keep going back to the range and keep, join a new fight?
Everyone's a challenge. It's I've taken some time between companies before. Take a month off
Mhm,
and do something. And honestly, like it just boredom sets in and free time doesn't suit me, right? So I'm always just I look at the world and think like about something and look at it and think, hey, there's a better way to do this, right? Like, and I just can't idly sit by and like let it be undone. Like, all right, well, I guess I need to go be the better way that does this. So it's I don't know, just the drive that you can't get rid of, I suppose.
You sounds like you are the change you want to see in the world. When you see something can be done better, you step out, say, you know what, I have to make it happen. That's so incredible. And by the way, I quote from Gandhi, which is one of my heroes. So wow, I never heard anyone actually say that in such an incredible, humble view, which is amazing. Um, Brian, I'm curious, you start so many businesses and have, incredible success along the journey. What do you think success means? And what does that mean for you? And for that, do you think you are successful?
For me, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. For me, it's like, am I doing work that I love doing? Right? Does it feel
Mhm,
like a job, or do I actually enjoy the things I do every day? Am I, making a living for my family and for myself, and keeping them secure and providing for them in the right ways? Um, and then am I doing something that's worthwhile for the people that I'm doing it for, right? So
mhm,
when I find myself in times where I'm doing things where I'm finding a more efficient way to get data from point A to point B, or I'm improving a click through rate from 15% to 17%, like, it's less fulfilling than if I'm, have something where I can really visibly see the effect on what
mhm,
I'm doing on people. So I think all those three things combined, like, I
mhm.
would I would define success.
So do you think you are successful today?
So I think so, because I love the things that I do, and it enables me to just spend fun times with my family and stay connected to them.
Mhm,
And at Vermos, we're helping out this large and vast
mhm.
deskless workforce, which are, like, I think, the unsung heroes of COVID. So I get direct stories from people who are using our products about how it makes their life better, and
Mhm.
that's what gives me the energy. That's what makes me feel successful.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? About the product?
Sure. So at Veramos, we help companies that employ deskless workers,
Mhm,
um, and we help them recruit people easier, and we help them retain the staff that they do have. And our specialty really is the lower wage deskless workers. So
mhm,
people that work in retail and restaurants, and delivery drivers that make typically 14, 15, 16, $16 per hour, and don't have any benefits associated with those jobs. So we've pulled together a collection of non-insurance based benefits that are very affordable. It's $20 a
mhm,
month, to give them things like telemedicine and roadside assistance. They
mhm,
drive cars that are 20 years old. So if they don't get to work that day, they don't work for tech companies that have unlimited PTO, right?
mhm,
Unlimited vacation time, right? They don't get to work. They don't make money. They don't get
mhm,
paid. They can't take care of their families, right? So our roadside assistance programs help get their car going and get them to work that day.
mhm,
Things like dental and vision plans, right, that are very cost effective. So
mhm,
to give peace of mind to a home care worker who has kids, and, like, my 8-year old is sick today, and they can get a doctor on the phone in 5 minutes, right? And find out if it's serious, get a prescription for their child,
mhm,
help make them better. Like, that sort of stuff is priceless. Or when I hear about somebody who was able to use the dental program to save like $700 on their crown or something,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
If you're making $15 per hour to save $700, that's a lot of
mhm,
hours of work you don't have to do to
mhm,
to pay that you saved. Or most likely, it's probably money that's not going on a credit card that could be at a 19% interest rate that might take 2 years to pay off. So it's
mhm.
very visible, the value that we provide to people, and that's really what keeps me going.
What inspired you to start that business, Brian? Because you obviously not the target customer that you just mentioning. Why you do what you do?
I actually started out Vermos, it was a completely different business. So, we had different ideas about just health and well-being and wellness. And we were a little bit stuck in some ways. COVID had just hit, which
Mhm,
killed a bunch of our plans for how we were going to do this business. And I reached out to people in my business network, and I reached out to somebody that was a really strategic thinker
mhm,
in workforce technology, and laid out all these things that we were working on. And he really planted this seed about the deskless workforce, and just the
mhm,
lack. He sees all these tools and technologies. He's like, this space is wide open. There's really nobody doing this, and you have everything you need to
mhm,
attack that market. I'd never thought about it before,
mhm,
but when he mentioned it, it was like a light bulb went on. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, it's been right in front of me this whole entire time, and I
mhm,
just didn't put two and two together.
mhm,
And, like, it just took that, his the way he looked at things, like his lens of looking at the
mhm,
world, and his experience in workforce technologies was
mhm,
just invaluable, and just lit that spark and took us off in a direction where we are today. So it was
mhm,
the power of the business network, and being open to collaboration and ideas from other people that just really like click. So
Mhm.
that was the spark.
Wow, it's almost like, you're looking back, all the dots just connect, and you just this is perfect for you what you're meant to do. And Brian, on that note, I'm curious, what impact do you want to leave on this planet? I felt like along the journey, you are very thoughtful, intentional about what problem you want to solve, and how do you leveraging the technology, your insight, your experiences, and create um, product and new solution for customer and complete different sector, right? So I'm curious, what drives you? What impact you want to left on this planet?
Yeah, I mean, so we have the impact I described on our customers today.
Hmm.
It's just there's a lot of them, but not like a ton of them, right? So
Hmm.
like, how do we scale that? There's Google says that 80% of the global workforce is deskless, right? They're not knowledge workers. They don't sit at a desk every day and have a browser and have the internet and those sorts of tools. And
Hmm.
there's solutions for those people. There's not solutions for the others. So I
Hmm.
think about, how can what we do impact to just a much, much broader number of people because they're there, right?
Hmm.
They need the impact. And the market is moving away from traditional employers that provide insurance and pensions and those sorts of things, is moving towards the gig economy, the sharing economy, and
Hmm.
things that don't provide any kind of benefits for things. So I guess it's the potential to impact. We've scratched the surface just a little bit of the total
Hmm.
number of people that we could reach with what we're doing at Veramos. So for me, like, I would love to reach just as many people as possible, and just be
Hmm.
able to help them and make their lives better would be just
Hmm.
phenomenal. That's the goal. That's the vision.
Brian, it sounds like to me that I felt like you always just driven by the challenge, by tackle another challenge is create bigger impact. I felt like you are not someone who wanna just, ride with this huge success and just chill and just take unlimited vacation forever. And I love that you really, such a impact driven, really wanted to create a positive impact for the community and continue to um truly make the world a better place, which is so, so refreshing.
Yeah, that's true. If you tell me it can't be done, I'm like, okay, now it's on. All right, that's a challenge. Let me roll up my sleeves. I'll figure out a way. Right. So I never like to hear like that's impossible. That can't be done. That's those are fighting words for me. I'm always willing to find a way.
That's amazing. That leads me to my next question is, Brian, you know that most startups usually are not wildly success, right? So what made you successful? You are one of unicorn founders. You have so many incredible businesses. What made you, such a successful entrepreneur?
I mean, I think there's a couple things. One is like persistence. So just
Mhm,
keep going in the face of adversity and not be willing
mhm,
to throw in the towel and give up. So persistence is key. But also, I think every business. So persist. I read this the other day. The iPod from Apple was out for like 6 years before the iPhone ever came out. Right. So like,
oh,
talk about persistence, right? It's like, you keep you put something out, see how it goes, and it takes a long, long, long time sometimes before you find success. So I think persistence is one thing. Also, um, being willing to change. You have beliefs and ideas about maybe a solution or a need,
mhm,
um, but the willingness to just change those in the face of other information or experts or
mhm,
actual like evidence, right? It's like when you don't know something on something, you maybe do some reading and you have these beliefs about the way it is or what your solution could be or whatever it is. But um, when you have the benefit of getting like actual data and actual like people information, you just got to be willing to change, what you're doing. I think almost every business I've been involved with is started out maybe sort of in one area and
mhm,
changed or pivoted to something slightly different and sometimes something completely different,
mhm.
from what they started out doing. When I was a kid, we used to have these gaming systems from a company called Coleco, Coleco. It was like before Nintendo, like long, long time ago,
Mhm.
and they might still be around. But so it was this like technology games company, and the company was actually founded in like the late 1800s. And Coleco stands for the Connecticut Leather Company. So it started out being a company probably making saddles, and ended up in technology and games. So I think
Wow.
you always have to be willing to just sort of change and pivot based on what you discover and find
Mhm.
out, and iterate your way to success. I think
Mm.
Perseverance and iterate rate success. Those are two common themes, at least for me in my history.
With that, what is the biggest mistake that or most common mistake you see founders make on that journey?
For founders, I mean, I mostly talk to technology companies.
Right, tech companies, yeah.
Yeah, most common mistakes. I think people think it's going to be like we chose to build our stuff on the Google Cloud platform instead of 80, but I think they think it's going to be technology choices for things. And I think the mistakes are like early team members finding the right people to be on board,
People.
and not being willing to make changes when necessary for like personal reasons. So some of those things just don't work out and you just have to like make a change quickly. It's like ripping off a band-aid. You just have to like pull it off and then things will be better, right? And it's hard to pull off the band-aid, right? Whether it's the idea you have about something and it's just not working, or whether it's like a person you hire and they're just not working out and not meeting their objectives, they're not hitting the team. It's hard to make that change. Nobody likes change. It's like really hard. So I think technology companies, it's like playing golf. So when you play golf and your club hits the golf ball, it makes an impact for just a fraction of a second. But that fraction of a second determines the entire trajectory 300 miles down the fairway, right? And whether it fades or draws or goes low or goes high, that little fraction of a second, I think that's like formation and vision creation and ideation, and team formation. I think it's those early days will determine that impact. And so I think if there's, the mistakes that get made, I think are in those early days of figuring things out, because it determines everything from here on in. So I think those are the most common things I see is, sometimes lack of clarity about the problem we're solving and then our vision, right? That goes along with that. So if the whole world just looks like problems, that's not a fun world, right? Like we need to solve problems for sure that people will pay money for, but we need to have a vision for what this looks like, right? A vision of the future that's there when our product is there in the marketplace, not just look at the problems. So it's common problems happen in the early days.
So people is solving the right problem and having a clear vision about the future.
Yep.
Amazing. Now I'm going to pivot back to you, Bryan. I'm curious, you have, come a long way, and it sounds like to me that you just love and driven by solving problems, create impact. I'm curious today, like what made you happy?
Like the thing I got to tell you, so like last week, my daughter's in middle school and she made the cheerleading squad. And she's also a dancer. She loves dancing. She dances competitively. So, watching my kids do stuff like, I don't know, that's just, makes me the happiest at the moment, is watching them achieve their dreams and the stuff they love doing. I love watching them experience that and just like the joy on their face when they're like in that creative groove and flow of the stuff that they love. Possibly because I know that, that time is fleeting too, right? Like they grow up so fast and they're going to be gone before you know it. And so I guess that's just, right now, that's what brings me the most joy, is like seeing them experience the world at the stage where they are, where they're just like young and anything is possible. And they're just so excited about things. Like, I don't know, right now in my stage of life right now, like that's what gives me the most joy for sure.
Would you want them to be entrepreneur?
I think so. Like I always loved aspects about business, right? And want to learn more about business, and obviously love technologies we've talked about. And I think, I think it's probably since, I started my first company when I was probably 23. So, so I don't know if that's like always, I think I just wasn't sure. I think, in high school, I was doing entrepreneurial things, and learning about technology. And so, I think I always had like an idea, but was open to whatever, right? Wanted to try some things. When I went to work for Anderson Consulting, it's a big company. Like I think there were like 50,000 employees at the time, which seemed big back then, right? So I think it was sort of like open, but then as I just followed my dreams and intuition and, things like that, like it just led me into the entrepreneurial journey.
Would you recommend young people or, next generation to start business, like, the path of almost like you, maybe trying to figure it out and then just, with a big company, then start a business, or right away start? How would you see that? Because you mentioned you did not know, and I think most people are exploring their path as well.
Yeah, I think everybody has their own journey. And
Mm,
in today's society, I know so many people that do have like a little bit of a side business, right? They
mm,
have an Etsy store, or they're so they're making something that they sell on the side, or they're
mm,
um, helping people like write resumes or whatever. And
mm,
sometimes just those little things turn into a larger business over time, right? Like I think if I remember the story of like Angie's List, like literally somebody was making a list of qualified contractors that they knew and trusted and liked, and would just email this list to people, right? Which grows into this massive, company over time. So I think people in general are doing very entrepreneurial things in today's sharing economy, and
mm,
then that'll let them know, wow, this is something that I would like to do this like on a full time basis. How can I grow this from a side
mm,
hustle and side interest into something that could full time support me and my family, right? And so it kind of
mm,
grows from there. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen both journeys be successful. Right
yeah.
away, straight out of college, starting something, I've seen that be successful. I've seen
Mhm,
people work in industry for 10, 20 years and then say, like, you know what? That's my time. I'm going to go strike out and do something on
mhm.
my own and work for them. So I think it's a very personal choice.
What would you tell your 25-year-old self, Brian? Or 30?
um, I think I would tell my younger self, this maybe sounds silly, but I think I would just say, you know what? It's going to be okay.
Ah,
Because there's just so many challenges that get thrown at you, so many
mm,
situations, lots of hard work. I think I would just say, you know what? It's going to be all right. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to be okay. Would have provided a peace of mind for me
mm.
at the time if I knew it was coming from my older self for sure.
Oh my God, I love that. When you said that in my heart, I was, oh my God, yes. Hallelujah. Somebody finally said it. It's gonna be okay, everybody.
it's it's going to all turn out, right? Things will always turn out the way they're meant to turn out.
So if you have this magic wand, if you start over, if you can change anything, would you change anything at all in your path?
I think if had the wisdom today, back when I started, it would have, made a lot of things easier for me. So I would, if I could change anything and had that magic wand, I would take the wisdom I have today and impart it on that 25-year-old self. And it would have saved lots of challenges and heartaches and struggles over time. It's just sometimes there's just things you can't teach or read in a book. You just have to experience them
Hmm.
and have lived through them. That
Hmm.
just makes you a little bit tougher and a little bit wiser.
Hmm.
So I don't know how you bottle that up, but if I could, I'd bottle up and give it to my 25-year-old self.
Oh my goodness, what that world will be, we'll just have to find out. Um, my last question, Brian, for you is, today you share incredible journey about yourself and what made you successful and what you see about, really the mistake the entrepreneur make, like they could make, or the mistake that you have made when you were in a earlier self. I'm curious, do you have any last piece of advice for entrepreneur today who are, hustling where we have so much more technology today, we have so much more, courses, incubators already out there, but what would you say to her or him to find their own path, finding what really bring their heart joy and truly making the world a better place by creating a next technology, the solution that really fill their heart?
I would just say, like, follow your dreams because, as you said, there's more resources available to people now than ever before.
Mhm,
Between the incubators, sources of funding, organized
mhm,
angel groups, advice, even cloud computing. In the old days, it would cost you tons of money to buy the infrastructure just to
mhm,
launch something, and now it's pay as you go. We start out, it's nothing, right? So
mhm,
there's so many advantages
mhm,
today to entrepreneurs in every single possible facet that
mhm,
weren't available in the past. So I would say, like, follow your dreams because there's no time like the present. There's so many resources out there. This is the time to do it because, and if you don't, I think in the end you'll regret it. It's like, man, I
mhm,
wish I would have done that. Right? It's like, well,
mhm,
you could have, and there's resources available for you to do it and support.
mhm.
So do it. That made my advice. Follow your dreams.
Follow your dream and do it. I love that, Brian. I love when you said, what if you have that regret? I personally think having regret is the hardest feeling versus, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, whatever that thing is. I think regret is the hardest feeling. So I love what you just said. And, once again, thank you so, so much, Brian. Thank you for coming on board to share your wisdom, your insight, your journey. And I'm just truly tremendously inspired by your experience. And thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We hope you enjoy as much as I do. And we will see you next time. And if not now, when? If not you, who? Go do it. Go start your dream business. Bye, guys.